Oh boy. Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today we are going to be talking about this kit from Warlord Games for bolt action. And we're also going to be talking about Warlord vehicles in general, the kits they've got out there, and we're going to be doing a bit of story time. It's going to be a bit of a mixed one today. So before we dive into that one, thank you as ever to members and patrons, including Sean Colburn, Old Man Rogers, Chaos Discordia, Runic Wolf, Chris Sexton, Riker6, and Kaz, plus all the other ones, all the other guys that are out. This growing community. The Discord has actually got people in it. No one's more surprised than me. But thank you all for your support, and if you don't already, then please consider subscribing, joining that. Helps me do more of this. Everyone gets more stuff, and I want to do more for bolt action. If you can't do that, do please like, share, and subscribe. But enough of that. We're going to do a story now. So, this is the Humber kit. This is a bolt action 156 scale, 28mm scale, plastic multi-part kit from Warlord. If you're new to bolt action, if you're just looking at getting in, the Warlord kits are kind of fractured into three, in my head, into three distinct parts. You have the ones that are sort of resin and metal. They're a mix. We're not going to talk about those. We have the Italeri rebranded ones, and we have these. Now, I don't think these are by Italeri because there's not a equivalent from them. I don't know who makes these, if they make them themselves or they're subcontracting it. But there's those kind of three distinct parts. The resin metal ones are the resin metal ones. If you've ever worked with resin and metal mixed kits, it's the same story. That is to say, the resin can be a pain in the butt to work with, to clean up. It can have details missing. It can have and the metal is also, it's a dated tech, in my opinion. There are better ways of doing it. This should be one of them. And then we have the two plastic kits, the Italeries, which are, we'll talk about, and these ones. So I have been now in bolt action for 7-8 months. 2 armies now. I have my Germans, which are, I'd love to say like, they're German late war, they're focused, they're not. They are splattered all the way across from mid-war to late war. I've even got some early war kicking around somewhere. It's a whole just raft of different stuff. And then I've gone very specifically for mid-war Brits, which 8th Army, I wanted some North Africa. You see those little North Africa colour scheme on there? I wanted one of these because, let's be honest, autocannons at the moment in bolt action are awesome, and this guy's got an autocannon, and I liked it. It's got wheels, it's a little bit different. Recce, awesome. It's got all these cool things. So I thought I would get one. Now, I have over 30 different vehicles for bolt action, which in the short period of time that I have been in the system is excessive, certainly. I'm not one to do things by halves. And when I decided to get involved with the system, I said to myself, I am going to buy Warlord stuff exclusively. There are only 2 vehicles, I think, in my collection which are not Warlord, and that is because they are 3D printed by a good friend of mine, because they don't make drillings. They don't make the drillings for Germany. So I wanted some of those, so I got a friend to print some. Awesome. The rest are a mix of all of this stuff. And I've decided to stick to that, and I am sticking to that. It may kill me, and it got close to doing so. So we're going to talk about this kit now. This is my second Humber. If I build this, it'll be the first one that I finish building. So when I got this, I was kind of hyped about it. It's a cute little thing. I like cute little things, and it's going to be great. Okay, great, fab. So I got it. Got the instruction manual. Started to put it together. I got part way through, and something that has never happened to me ever occurred. I lost my cool completely with this kit. It was horrible. It got to the point where I was so enraged with it, so offended by, for me, how bad it wasn't. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of people in the comments below like, I built it was no problems. For me, oh, I hated this. I got so angry, the whole thing went in the trash. I just binned it. Done. Nope. I don't just want to not finish the kit. I never want to see this again. Get out. That is the first time that's ever happened. And for context with that, I started building plastic model kits, like Airfix stuff, when I was about 5. That's when I think I got my first Spitfire. Now, to say what I did to that was building and painting would be generous in the extreme. It was a 5-year-old boy's enthusiasm. You can imagine. But over the years, I've built a lot of model kits. I've been a wargamer since 1987, more on than off at this point. I've built many kits. This is the first one that ended up in the bin. This thing. When I threw it in the bin, I wasn't done. I was so offended. I was just like, that I ripped off. I just fired an email straight to Warlord. And I've got to be honest, I put together a whole bundle of my thoughts. And it was kind of along the lines of, I'm out here doing videos and talking about your stuff. I'm building a community locally. I'm running tournaments for Bolt Action. I'm actively promoting. I'm saying people should get into this system. And then you're charging us €25 for this. You put this out like this was okay. And it was kind of the cherry on top, because there was plenty of other kits that I've worked with that just had problems. They just, it's interesting because these kits are very much playing pieces. They're not scale models. If you're looking for a scale model, these are not them. They don't have like the detail, in my opinion. They don't have the quality of the pieces and all this kind of stuff. It's not there. If you want to turn these into that kind of very historically accurate and detailed, beautiful thing, there are people that do conversion bits and you can get etched metal and all this kind of stuff. You need to get extra stuff to turn these into that really beautiful sort of display quality piece. They are playing pieces at their very core, but they're not necessarily what I'd call cheap playing pieces. And don't 40k blah blah me. I don't care about that. I care about my subjective feeling. This guy being €25 is okay. I can do that. I can live with that. That's an okay price. You know how it's not like yay. It's like And many of the miniatures, especially like the resin metal, they're more expensive than the plastics, and the details and quality is lower. And that sucks. So you get them in, you're like, it's just not great. So I kind of ripped this email across to Warlord, and I was like, look, the whole point of this channel is I'll only talk about things that I love. I'll only buy things that I enjoy, and I only talk to you guys about things that I would spend my money on. Now I've bought everything. I've not had anything from Warlord. I've never had anything from Warlord. The only contact that I've had with them is a couple of customer service emails, and I asked them if I could get a poster to put behind me, but they don't do them, so that was that. We've not really had any contact, and after this we probably won't, but hey. So I fired this email, and it was just kind of like, no, how am I supposed to go out to people and say, get involved with this system? You know, I've got local players like, should I get involved with the system? Yes, I want a tiger. Don't get the ones on the website. Don't get into the ecosystem. There's other places you can... And it just sucks. It sucks being in the situation where the vehicle kits are so variable. Like there's certain kits that are just hot trash. The artillery ones are just... They're not great. And you're not going to know, unless you know, you're not going to know. Like the Panzer III is an artillery kit. If you buy the artillery one, I think it's €17, and if you buy it from Warlord, it's 30. I think that's 25 or 30. Not sure why. It's the same kit. But that's how it is. And the kit itself is, it goes together, and the finished quality is, and, you know, so what are we talking about with that the kits, they kind of go together okay. They don't go together beautifully. You're going to have to put some elbow grease in there. You're going to have to really kind of put it together. And people are going to say, you know, that's part of the modelling experience. No, it's not. There are companies out there that are putting out plastic kits that just fit together with no gaps, and it's all seamless, and it just goes together once. I have experienced them. They are out there. They exist. They have done for a very long period of time. So these kits being a little bit warped or a little bit having details missing or all this kind of thing, especially for their price point, is kind of... And then you get... I put together one Churchill. Beautiful kit. Went together. Loved it. Could have done 50 of those. What was the other one? There's another British one. The Matilda. Perfect. Do that all day. Great little kit. In fact, I built 2 of those. I built both of those watching movies at the same time, and it was kind of it was a really enjoyable process. There was nothing. I had no complaints, 0 notes. It was perfectly great, and the quality of the miniature at the end of it is perfectly fine. You notice how I'm not jumping up and down and saying, "Oh my god, it was amazing." They're perfectly fine. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They are perfectly adequate playing pieces. But then you get other ones, and I'm going to focus on this one and talk about this. So this contains a Mark II and Mark IV options for the Humber. And I was interested in the Mark II. Now the contents of the kit they're perfectly fine. The details on the parts are perfectly fine. Let's see if we can get the camera to play ball tonight. Let's have a look here. You know, the sprues are kind of perfectly fine. They're not, you know, it's not massively detailed. But you see there's not a lot of flash on here. There's not a lot of, like, problems. There's options and choices. It's not a vast kit by any stretch of the imagination, but you have the option to build various versions and various loadouts. It's a perfectly nice kit. We got 2 sprues. And then we got a book. And I think we have, yep, what would a Warlord box be without smoke markers and a die? And then you have a little card and decals. All perfectly fine. It's all perfectly adequate. I went to put this guy together and I was like, yeah, this does not look like it's going to pose any challenges whatsoever. However, there is one challenge straight off the bat. If we look at these sprues, around the parts, you'll notice there is something missing. These are not numbered. There are no numbers on these sprues. How do you know which piece is which? Well, you can eyeball it, but inside we have a picture of the sprue all numbered up. So as you start going through and building this, you'll need to look at what's on the page, and then you'll need to go back to the front and find out what that bit is, and then you need to go down here and find the right sprue, and then you can't just look for a number. You can't go, I need number 12. Number 12 is here. You have to go, okay, I need number 12. Number 12 is there on the scheme. It's this. It makes it a more drawn out process, and this is not the only kit that I have seen this on. I think, from memory, that all of the pieces in here are numbered. Sounds like a weird thing to say, but I have come across Warlord kits where you have, this piece goes here. Okay, which number is that? That piece. Shall I guess? I've also come across instruction sets where you kind of have step 1, step 2, step 4. How did we get from here to here? This thing needs to happen, and you have to kind of decode back what should have occurred, what should have gone together, what pieces are missing. And that kind of lack of attention to detail is just frustrating. But that, with this one, that doesn't send you to the trash. That doesn't send you to the bin. What sends you to the bin? Well, This is the construction of the hull here. So, where are we? Wrong side. You've got to love that. 50-50 chance, got it wrong. So we have the top, you build the turret separately, and you put the top, you touch the turret. So this one has, first of all, this little turret ring, it attaches there permanently. Really annoying. Really annoying. So what I ideally like to do is take the turret off and paint, so that I don't like put glue between the turret and the hull, so it doesn't stick. Can't do that with this because we have this little loopy bit to stick in. So unless I paint the turret separately and then the top of this separately and then glue it together, you can't. That's not one of the options. Don't do that. And it's also, from memory, it's a little bit tight as well, so it's going to just wear on this on the turret ring. And that happens a lot. There's quite a lot of the kits that have the sort of the lugs that sit inside the chassis as you sort of put them in a specific position, rotate it, and it holds in place. I cut all of those lugs off so that it doesn't actually, you can just lift it straight off, because otherwise they're so tight that they wear the paint off around the turret ring. Just no, because you want to turn the turret. Anywho, so this annoyance notwithstanding, you have the top, and then you stick the two sides on. There you go, you go on the sides there, nicely done. And then we stick the butt on, and then we stick the bottom on. This is a problem, because the shape of this vehicle, and you can kind of see it here, the hull goes in, it's shaped inwards, and the front and the back. And if we look at, there you go, one of the sides, you see this is where, this bit here is where that bottom section, so this section here, sits in. So this goes inside and up to attach here. But you have the two sides on, the front and the back on, and everything's angled in, which means that that space, it's not big enough to just, you can't just click it in. You can't just push it in. You have to have a side and the front off to push it up and in, and then put them on. But that's not what we're told to do. We're told to build all of it, including this little front bit, this bit at the front here, which locks in the base of it, and then put the bottom in. That's not one of the options. It's just not. Now, you see, I build metal and plastic miniatures. For Infinity, it's metal, and use other types of like resin miniatures and stuff like that. I don't like having 15 different types of glue around the place, because it will be a case of I'll buy a bunch of miniatures for a system, I'll glue those all together, and then I'll move them to a different system, buy a bunch of miniatures, glue those all together. And if I'm doing that, then I might sort of move from plastic to metal, back to plastic again, or to a resin that doesn't necessarily work with plastic glue. So I'd need multiple sets of glue around the place. What I do is just use Gorilla Glue. That is the only thing that I do. I just have Gorilla Glue. It's a super glue, so it dries really quickly and really hard. It's great stuff. You don't want it on your fingers. So dutifully following your instructions and sticking the top and then the sides on, and then getting to this point where it's all glued together nicely, and then you come over here and you stick your back on, and then you stick your front on, and then you've got to stick that inside. I'm then facing the situation where I have super glue, not a huge amount, but enough, bonding and locking in a space where I'm not going to be able to fit in that base plate. Now this base plate is kind of important because this little guy here, the wheels attached to it. So not only does it have to be in place, you can't not have it, it's not an optional piece, it has to be flat, because otherwise your wheels are going to be wonky. And they have these little caps over them, so it needs to be flat. It needs to be right. But we're putting it in a space that's too small for it to go in. So I dutifully prise the body apart very carefully, because I'm like, this is fine. We can do this. This is not a problem. It was a problem. I'm sort of in a position where, because the glue's going off, I can't dry fit. Now, obviously, you can't. In an ideal world, you dry fit all these pieces beforehand, but because you are putting on a top to the two sides, to the front, to the back, to then the bottom, you can't dry fit this beforehand. So I'm kind of in a situation where I'm like, right, what I kind of want to do is just stick it in, glue it all together. I'm like, because the glue's already going off. I don't want to stick more on there. Yes, this is to a degree because of my glue choice, but if you're using polystyrene cement, if you're using something that melts this as well, it's a similar problem. So I do that. A little bit of glue around the base. It doesn't fit. This piece here, it's physically too large. On the one that I had, it was physically too large to fit in the space on the inside. So now the front has a gap on it and the side has a gap on it. Off it comes again, out the piece comes. Everything is drying at this point. So I'm trying to shave it down and trying to figure out where the contact is that's keeping it from lining up properly. I went back and forth with that for about 20 minutes, trying to get it to fit into the space properly so I could close the hole up and make it look good. There was glue on the fingers. I was sticking to the miniature. I was just at a point where I was just like, if it slotted in there first time and been glued, it would have been fine. But it didn't fit. If the instructions had been, take the top, stick a side on, stick the front and the back on, well, stick the front on, put the base in place, then stick the other side and the back on, that would probably work, but it's not. It's not. That's not how these instructions tell you to put it together. And then you get here, and at that point, if you don't know, it's a problem. So having looked at the miniature, which at this point had, despite my best efforts, had bits of glue on it, I still couldn't get the hull to close properly. There were still gaps around the edge of it. I was done. I was completely done. Went in the bin. I was done. It was over. As I say, I fired off that message to Warlord. It was like, this is just not good enough. It's just not good enough for the money that you're asking, for 25 euros, for poor instructions like this, for instructions that, I mean, even this, I remember in the 80s we had numbers printed on our sprues. It's not hard. We know this because other ones in the range have it printed on their sprues. Why doesn't this one? I don't care why it doesn't. It should, actually. I'm not going to make out like I do. So I fired off this email that was basically, how am I supposed to promote this system? How am I supposed to push this system if this is what this is what I'm promoting to people? This is not good enough by any stretch of the imagination. And I said, look, I'm not asking for my money back. I'm not asking for any kind of resolution here. This is just not good enough. They haven't responded. This was 3 months ago. Got notification from the system that they had received the email, but no response. Which is really frustrating, because I remember seeing, I think they won an on-tabletop customer service award. And my experience with their customer service team has been perfectly fine. There's been a couple of issues I've had and they've fixed it. I have a lot of love for the company. I have a lot of love for the system. But I view my job with this YouTube channel to be out there and saying, you should buy into the system because there are other manufacturers of plastic kits out there. And unfortunately, right now, I would say that you should buy other people's 1/56 scale miniatures, 28mm scale miniatures, all 3D print or whatever. The infantry, they're great. The infantry kits, from my perspective, especially the new ones, love them. I think they're fantastic. You should definitely buy those from Warlord. But when it comes to these vehicles, when it comes to this stuff, it is a crapshoot. It is is this a good one? And that's not good enough. That is simply not good enough. this latest version of the system, version 3, uses a lot more vehicles. It makes vehicles a lot more accessible. And if this is what they want us to buy as playing pieces to play their game, you know, like I said, I've spent a huge amount of money on them, and I've looked at other systems, other like Rubicon, very well known. They make some beautiful kits. Why won't I buy those? Because I'm in this ecosystem now, and in my head, and from what I've seen, there's slight differences in scale and detailing and all that kind of stuff. If I get some Rubicon miniatures that are slightly different, it's going to annoy me. So I'm kind of stuck here now, and I'm going to remain here now, and that's the choice I'm making. But if you're just getting into the game, and somebody's kind of like, hey, do you want to, or are we going to buy the vehicles from here, or should we buy them from somewhere else? Right now, is she buying a Matilda? Is she buying a Churchill? Probably not. You know, even things like the Panzer IVs and the Panzer IIIs, the shirts and the armour plates on the outside, the extra armour that goes on them. Same for my Stugs, because I've put the main miniatures together. They have gaps, but I put the main miniatures together. I built 3 Stugs. They all have gaps, just in case, you know. Anyway, I put 2 of them together with shirts, and I've not glued the shirts onto them so that I can paint properly. I'm not looking. I kind of stopped painting them because I'm like, I've got to stick these shirts on at some point, and this is, I can already see it's gonna suck. It just makes you a bit tired, to be honest with you. So I am now going to go and build this, and I'm going to do a follow-up on this one. I'm going to build this in a different way to the way the instructions suggest. And there'll be a follow-up video of this, unpainted. It's just going to put it together, and we'll see where we get to. Hopefully, the video won't just be a pile of burning plastic in the middle of my garden. Probably won't be. I'm determined to do this. I don't like being beaten by stuff, and I'm not going to be beaten by a plastic kit, even if it's a bit of a crap one. It's really annoying because I love these little guys. I think they look so cool. So this is the scheme. This is one of the nice things, actually. This is a nice thing. You get the colour scheme and the details of how everything should be painted on the back of this, and the colours you should use, which is just, it's a nice touch. It is a nice touch. It looks cute. I need this for my 8th army. I need this in there. In fact, I wanted 2. And I've bought 2. If this goes well, I'm going to end up with 1 on the table, so that's a win. Anyway, so that's kind of where I am with this. And that's kind of where I am with Warlord vehicle kits in general. They're so unreliable and so inconsistent. It's really frustrating, and I wish that they would have a standard quality product that we could give our money to, and then I would be screaming it from the rooftops. That would be the wish list. It's like, if we could just have kits that are consistently awesome. And I know they're updating, like we've just had the new Grant/Lee for the Brits come out. There's a plastic kit that's come out. I own one of the metal resin ones, and I've not built, obviously, the plastic kit. I've not got my hands on that one. I don't need more than one Lee/Grant, probably. I'll probably get one later. We'll see. But anyway, but they're updating those resin metal kits to plastic, which is great. But if they're going to be like this, anyway. So that's my experience with Warlord vehicle kits. Variable at best. Are they value for money? Sometimes. Would I recommend them to a newbie? Probably not. What's your experience? Have you had that? I know that there are many modelers out there. I see them like on the Facebook, on Reddit, Jesus, on Facebook and on Reddit. Just some fantastic work done with these kits, and it's breathlessly amazing. And I know partly this is down to me being impatient. I get that. Hand in the air and using super glue. Yep, get that. Hand in the air. But it shouldn't be that the kit only works if you're on your best day, fully rested, with exactly the right kit, perfect lighting, and you said 5 Hail Marys over breakfast. You shouldn't need to do that. This should be new player friendly. This should be new modeler friendly. This damn thing is not. But what's your experience? If you do use Warlord kits, how have you found it? Have you had similar experiences, and which is your least favourite kit? If we're going to burn this particular bridge with Warlord, let's set the whole thing up in kerosene. But what's your personal worst Warlord kit? And if you don't buy Warlord kits, which ones do you do? Rubicon, I know we're going to see a lot of that. 3D printed, I know we're going to see a lot of that. Is there anything else? Is there anyone else out there that's making plastic vehicle kits for World War II in 156/28mm scale? That does the job. If so, comments please. But thank you for joining me on what is basically a wild therapy session. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to vent my spleen. I hope it wasn't too traumatizing for you. And there's going to be more stuff coming for Bolt Action. I have ideas, and I'm hoping to get some battle reports on the channel soon. We'll see. But thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.